Hello, and welcome to part 1 where I transformed this notebook into my very first journal. My name is Nicole, but you can refer me as Nevst. As mentioned in my intro video, this part will be dedicated to creating the backstory section of my journal, the hows and whys I got into nail polish, and how it leads up to today. I'll also provide my personal thoughts on journaling and why I'm going ahead with my project of specifically creating a journal for my nail painting hobby. I'm beginning by creating a header that I sketched out in Procreate. Coming up with concepts digitally is very flexible as I can reuse layers to try out alternative ideas without having to redraw the same elements, and nudge things around if they're slightly off. Now, it took me a bit of time to draw out the word as I wanted the letter thickness to match exactly what I had sketched out in Procreate. I recently bought transfer paper, which I'm currently waiting for it to arrive in the mail. It'll definitely speed up this process and allow me to recreate more ambitious designs that I would have avoided recreating on paper. I know there's a DIY technique of transferring drawings over, but I was never a fan of the process, as it's quite messy. I don't like graphite that much, to be honest. I chose to illustrate used cotton balls because they represent the cycle of creation and removal that comes with nail painting. This, to me, is similar to how a backstory traces the journey of a hobby. Despite their worn-out state, there's something unexpectedly pretty about them. How the colors blend and interact, creating a beautiful mess of hues and texture. So I think I might have overdone this drawing once I started adding the coloring pencils, as I think it's not reading as cotton balls that quite well anymore, but that's not the deal breaker that would make me redo this drawing. So I wanted to share the reasons behind my decision to start journaling and why I decided to tie my hobby around it, as there are quite a few thoughts I'd like to expand on. The interactivity of this medium is very appealing to me, and I feel as though I am unable to translate into words how the tangibility of past experiences through pages surpasses the static display of pixels in a photo gallery. I was deeply inspired when I saw a group member in this simply illogical Facebook group post a journal entry with an instant picture of their Rani. The concept itself is not original in the journaling community, but to me it was a mind-blowing method of documentation. Documentation is useful for this hobby, as I have sometimes found myself wondering if I applied a particular shade before. Not that there's anything wrong with using the same bottle more than once, but my intentions are to go through all my polishes at least one time. How I haven't thought of this was beyond me, and I wish I had sooner. I did not waste any time in getting an instant photo printer so I could begin doing this myself. I was genuinely excited to let my manicure guide the theme of my pages, whether it was by the season, by the holidays, or by the colors alone. As I began to dive into the journaling community to visually learn how people structure their thoughts and pages, I understood why I could not have thought of doing this myself. A lot of it involves having a routine, and most journals seem to be goal-oriented, being filled with tasks and self-imposed objectives. To me, I find that added pressure to be stressful. I understand it doesn't have to be, especially if you adopt a healthier outlook, but who realistically wants to have a journal mostly filled with setbacks? And I believe that with the sheer amount of commitment needed, it has to become a hobby in of itself. However, I can't see myself adopting journaling as a new hobby, but rather have it serve as an extension to my current one, a way to enrich it by allowing me to store my personal thoughts and experiences of an activity that I have dedicated myself to, all in a creative manner. I find myself genuinely curious about who this content will resonate with. In my videos, I won't be following the typical nail polish application process, nor will I be reviewing products in the conventional sense. Because of this, I'm not sure if those with the same hobby as mine will be interested in this format, as it's more of a personalized take on my nail painting experiences, which feels a bit outside of the norm. On the other hand, I wonder if the terminology specific to the nail polish community might alienate those who are into journaling. Regardless, I'm interested to see if there's a middle ground where both audiences could find something to connect with. So right now I'm writing up my experiences of how I got into this hobby. As you can see, I pulled up a document on my iPad as I have already wrote everything out. The reason why I do it this way is because I have a lot of thoughts to put down, but none of it is structured coherently. This often causes me to forget what I want to add or going in circles. I want my writing to be as cohesive as possible, and in my case, that doesn't happen on the first try. With that said, I do not like writing, but I absolutely love transcribing. However, other than taking notes, I never had a reason to. That is another reason why I would have not picked up journaling, as having to sit down and organize my thoughts every day is too time consuming. It's significantly easier to write about something you're passionate about for once a week. At first, I do feel overwhelmed, but that quickly goes away when I start describing the shades and my experience with them. Now, about the hobby itself, I have always been fond of nail polish, but I had never been able to keep it on for more than a day. I'd either be too impatient to let it dry completely before doing something else, or I couldn't fight off the urge to peel the polish off. Another problem growing up was nail biting, so even if I did manage to keep the nail polish on, it never looked quite right to me. Eventually, I'd start watching videos uploaded by the beauty community, which included nail polish videos. One of the first nail polish channels I'd consistently watch was Cute Polish. As time went on, this was 9 years ago by the way, I eventually stumbled upon one of Simply Nailogical's tutorials. I was far more entertained and invested as the polishes she used were unique. I remember around that time, I started eyeing boutique nail polish brands, specifically the ones she would feature in her videos. I had a long list of shades that I wanted to get, but got cold feet when I saw the potential cost. I settled for a spree at the drugstore instead, but quickly lost interest after 2 weeks of barely using them. Eventually, Simply announced the creation of her brand, but at that point I was a full-time college student, so I didn't have the means to buy it. As time went on, I eventually forgot about the whole brand. Only 2 years later did I remember its existence when I saw an ad on Facebook for the shade Party of One Purple. Of course, that was the first shade I bought before getting hooked to the brand. I started browsing through their socials to be up to date with what I missed, which was everything after the first holiday collection. For reference, this was sometime in November, where the Magnetic collection was being teased. All the hype built around the launch got me excited, and I decided to tune in to the announced livestream. I didn't cave in at the time, but I did get the collection box 6 months later when Holo held a special Vault Day sale during the summer. Anyways, during the livestream there was a segment devoted to a certain part of the community, known as the so-called detectives. Those are people that dedicate their time to find hints and clues of upcoming collections. I was entertained and wanted to take part in the fun. I joined the official Discord, and from there I was able to branch out into the community. I have to say though, the whole detective thing is not what it once was, but not because of the channel members. Most collected evidence back then were purely accidental, and some of them required high perception to notice. But now, the bulk of hints that the community collects are from Simply's deliberate carelessness, and not genuine accidents. But that's okay, I get most of my enjoyment from reading people's thoughts and opinions in the channels, and occasionally partake in the conversation. If it weren't for this sense of community, I don't think I would have been able to find the discipline to let my nails grow, nor the motivation to maintain them. So we're nearing the end of this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you stick around for part 2, where I'll be filling in pages dedicated to my favorite nail polishes. Bye!